We got this session coming up, and it's energetic because I think we need a little bit of energy in this room, and it's going to be incredible. How many of you have heard of Candy Valentino before? Anybody in here? Oh yeah, for the ones that have, who wooed over here? Yeah, you get the energy, and if you haven't heard it before, it's going to be a rockin' time. And let me tell you why. Because there's something that fuels your business. What is it, guys? What do you need to be in business for a long time? Money, people, revenue. So we get to talk about that. We've been having all these sessions being like, hey, you got to exit, you got to do things. But what about when you throw fuel on a fire and you learn from somebody that's been doing it for 26 years, literally has a TV show, books coming out, this one specifically. VIPs, by the way, she's doing a book signing in there. Make sure you guys do that afterwards. But I'll tell you right now, not only an author and a really incredible person, but I'm telling you right now that if you want to fuel your growth, you need to learn from people that have actually built successful businesses. And that's exactly who Candy Valentino is. So Playbook, could you give me a massive, energetic welcome for
Marcus and Jonathan and Chris and everyone at Trainual for putting this on. Come on, let them hear you. They can hear you back there. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the awesome introduction. And he said all those things about me, but really what I am is just like you. I started my first business when I was 19 with no money, no college degree, no corporate background, and no plan B. And I was able to figure out how to start that first business, that second business, that third business, exit businesses, invest in other assets. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs come to things like this for two reasons. One, you either have a critical problem that you're trying to solve, or things are going pretty well and you just want to level up. So by a show of hands, who here in the room has a critical problem in their business? Be honest, let's pretend it's Sunday. Raise your hand. Anyone here with a problem that wants to be honest about it? About 5%. So everybody else here, everything is great and you just want to up level, is that yes? Yes, okay. All right, so we're going to talk about two things today. Typically when I do any speech, any talk, any keynote, I have at least an hour. And my shortest event is 2 days. So I'm going to talk really fast, and I'm going to try to give you a lot of information. Because what I love about these events is you will get pumped up, you'll get excited, you'll get motivated. But the challenge is you'll leave these doors, and if you don't implement what you learned, nothing changes. Would you agree? Say yes. The beauty is in the implementation, the result, the action. What you're going to get out of it is what you do with the information. And so personally, I hate when I go to something and I invest a lot of time and I get pumped up and I take a lot of notes and then I get back to my office and I go, oh my God, what do I do next? Anybody been to something like that before? And you just don't know what to do. And if you're in a room like this, I don't need to pump you up and get you excited to do something because you already want that. That's why you're here. That's why you're wanting to grow your knowledge and level up your acumen. So what I want to do is talk about the one thing that I obsessed on, not only in my own career as an entrepreneur, but I embarked on probably, we don't know for a fact, we haven't figured this out for sure, but we think it's the second largest research study ever done on 2,000 businesses and 17,000 entrepreneurs to find out why. Why do 91.4% of all businesses fail in their first 10 years? And you're going to hear lots of stats on social media about this. It's actually 91.4. We did the data. That means that only 9% of business owners, well-intended business owners that have big dreams and big visions and get all excited, only 9% of them are going to succeed past 10 years. Why? Because the skills that got you into business, the courage that you had to have to say, I'm going to be the one in my family right now to change this forever, those are not the skills that's going to get you to sustain in business. We have to level up our knowledge, and we have to know exactly what to focus on when you're in specific revenue benchmarks, which we're going to talk about. So does anyone here want to make more money? Say yes. Does anybody here want to make more money? All right. And it's interesting that the very one thing that's going to cripple all businesses in our research is money. So let's focus on the one thing, right? We can talk about processes, and we can talk about people, and we can talk about performance and data. But if we don't have profit to invest in all of those things, we're not going to have a business that's going to give us a life that we can actually live, that we want to live. So let's jump into a few things of what you need to do to build a sustainable business, because most entrepreneurs fail here. First failure part. They think they're gonna start a business, they leave their job, and what do? They come in, they start something, and they have to wear 17 hats. They have to figure out fulfillment. They have to figure out how to build a team, how to acquire a customer, how to make profit, what even is a soap, what even is a CRM, right? All of these things. So what happens is they end up creating a job. Anyone that's been in business that started it from the ground up, I guarantee, would anyone be honest that you started with a job when you started your business in the beginning, right? You had to show up to the customers, you had to show up, be a manager. So it's really important to know what you're building. And in the research that we did that I told you about, we find out 2/3 of all businesses fail first 2 years. 5 years, half are gone. 10 years, only 9% are left. And why is that? 88% of the Fortune 500 companies that existed 50 years ago are also gone. So it's not just the small business, right? It's everyone. And those few that still exist are not even a Fortune 500 company any longer. So we wanted to dive in and say, why does this happen and can we fix it? And so here's why, the cause of all of the failures. 47% lack of revenue. 44% lack of financial performance, which basically is lack of revenue. 8% didn't rebound after COVID, and 1% is probably still related to money, but they answered something else. So we know why businesses fail. So what can we do to make them succeed? And it all starts with this, is intentional building. Many people start a business because they think they hate their job. They think that they want to create something with fulfillment and freedom, but they ended up creating a cage because they didn't intentionally plan the exit from the beginning, which is why 85% of all businesses that are started will never be acquired. And if you're a female founder like me, it's less than 5%. So 15%, if you're a guy in the room, that's your odds, not very good. 5% if you're a female in the room and you're a female founder, to ever be acquired. Because every business has a shelf life unless you're intentional about the build in the beginning. So that's what we're gonna get into. I talked about the Fortune 500 companies. This affects them too, because starting a business has never been easier. Anybody here start a business at least 10 years ago? Raise your hand. 10 years ago or more? 10 years. So everyone else that doesn't have your hand up is within these first 10 years, right? So this is the danger zone, right? What are the things you're going to do to make yourself viable? Starting a business has never been easier. Sustainability has never been harder. Because when more and more people enter the market, now you have more and more competition that you need to be able to outrun, outperform, and outlast. So intentional building is the very first thing. And if you aren't intentional in the beginning, you will never build a business that's an asset that you can exit. So it all starts how you architect your build. And we can go literally into a whole day of how we do that. We're not gonna be able to. So I'm gonna flip through a lot of these. But this next slide I want you to focus on, because I wanna see in here who started their business for one of these entrepreneurial triggers. In our research, we found that all entrepreneurs, 17,000 that we surveyed, they all fell into one of these 4 categories called entrepreneurial triggers. Existing negative condition, hated your job. Anybody start a business just because they hated working at the company that they were working at? One honest girl in the room. Let's give her a round of applause for being honest. Yes. The next category is future potential outcomes, thinking that your life could be better if you started this business. The third is current circumstantial challenges, like maybe a divorce or a death and you had to figure something out. But this last one is where everybody failed, is where everybody fell. Freedom, fulfillment. That's what they were after. But what happens is if you're not intentional about the architecture of your build, you actually don't get that. I know personally myself, like when I started my first business, I was 21 years old. All of my friends were going out to bars, and I was literally trying to figure out how to make payroll. And I'm like, you guys are getting blackout drunk, and I'm trying to figure out how to get in the black. Like, come on. Like, I was like, I don't know if I made the right decision when I'm seeing everybody living a life that I had wanted. But here's the interesting thing, and what I love about entrepreneurs, is if you're willing to say no to a few things now, you can say yes to more things than you can ever imagine later. I'm living proof of that. So many of you are living proof of that. But it's all about playing the long game and architecting that build so that you can create something sustainable so that you can either exit or you can pull cash flow out and create additional cash flowing assets or additional revenue verticals. So everyone kind of fell into that category, yet they ended up creating a cage. So that got us to ask the question, if we want to become part of the 9%, what's the edge? What actually matters? What do we need to pay attention to? Because everybody in this attention economy is vying for yours, right? The next marketing strategy, the social media algorithm that you have to figure out, the latest hack, the latest tool, the latest thing here. So what do we need to pay attention to? This is where most of the work fell. And it's the 7 core functions of building a scalable, sustainable, and sellable business. And our model goes the whole way up to 100 million. So what are those things? People, right? Regardless what industry you're in, you are in the people business. You have to work with people, you have to service people, you have to figure out how to interact with people, how to sell them on something more. People was one of them. Persuasion, all things sales and marketing, right? So this is how do you get someone, how do you persuade them to come your way, know about you, and how do you get them to convert to be a buyer? Planning, and I'm just going to cover these quickly. This is a full 3-day, this is I think a 3-day workshop that we do. This is planning, like actually planning your growth. Because if we don't ever stop and pause to see where are you in these revenue benchmarks that we're going to cover and really decide what function you need to focus on, whatever got you to 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, 30 million will not get you to 100. There are different focuses at different times. So the information that you're taught actually doesn't matter. It's how the information applies to where you are in your build. That's the key. And so we talk about planning, how to create processes, systems in your business, which is what Trainual is so great at hacking so that you don't have to do all the work. That's why everybody I talk to, everybody I meet has to have this, because otherwise you are buried in soap notes and all of your different processes that needs to be in one place so that your team can do what they want so that you can do what you want with your days. The next is performance, KPIs, business metrics. And if this is something that you're not measuring consistently, monthly, quarterly, you're not alone. Most entrepreneurs that I work with are already doing millions of dollars in revenue and cannot name their top 5 KPIs. But it's important that if you want to start to break through 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 million, these are the boring old things that everybody needs to pay attention to. Not the social media algorithm and what's going on Instagram. Not whether or not TikTok goes away. It's the metrics and the data in your business, because here's the thing. Most people stop learning math. I'm going to give that to my bookkeeper. I'm going to give that to my CPA. I'm going to hire a CFO. But there is a language inside of your business. And that language is data and numbers. And when you can start to understand that language, you can make very strategic, data-driven decisions on where to deploy capital, who and when to hire. So if you're ever feeling like you're in chaos in your business and you're unsure what to do or where to go or where to put money, it's because you don't have the clarity of the data. When you're able to make data-driven decisions based on facts and figures and not your feelings and emotions, because as entrepreneurs, we allow that to get in the way sometimes, business gets really easy. And this one, of course, is principle, you, the founder, because we sometimes will become our lid, our glass ceiling. If you are not leveling up your leaderships, your talent, your excitement, if you can't cast a big vision to the team, we need to make sure that you're focusing on your health. And last, but first, profit. Because all of those other things we can solve with more profit in the business. And 91% of all businesses fail due to lack of money. Profit is the center of it all. So in our very short time together, I'm going to try to brush through all of this because I don't want to pump you up and tell you a bunch of stuff. I want to give you something that you can implement in your business within 24 hours. Is anyone down for that? All right, one more time. Is anyone down for that? All right. I do better when it's a two-way conversation, so let's make sure we're doing this 2 ways. Okay, here is the big part of the research, this next slide. If you do nothing else but take this one picture so that you can assess where you are and if you are at a critical revenue benchmark that causes the most failures in business, you're going to know that you need to take a pause point or not. We ready for it? All right, here we go. This is the revenue benchmarks from 0 to 100 million. And if you look at the very top of this graph, you're going to see 4 strategic pause points. What we found is that when entrepreneurs blow past these pause points in their business, they will actually regress in revenue. And these are the greatest failure points in most businesses. So when we did the research of, well, what exactly were businesses doing when they failed? What was their number one revenue? Here, 800,000, 3 million, 10 million, 30 million. Why? Because at each one of these, you need to double down on new talents and new skills, and you need to focus on new things. So think about this for a moment. Where are you on this graph? Did you blow through a pause point? Did you blow through a pause point and maybe have a bad year because you didn't pause and take a look at planning and performance in your team to make sure that you didn't need to make any changes? Is there anything here that you see that like, wow, I keep coming up against this one revenue benchmark and I can't seem to get past it? It's there for a reason. It's what the data is telling us. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just the way that most entrepreneurs build their businesses. So how do you create sustainable growth? How do you create more profit? How do you supersize your profit so that you can get more money out of the business? It's one thing to start, but to consistently grow your revenue and maintain profitability is really hard. And you want to figure out if you are even on the growth plan or if you are looking to scale, because it's a totally different conversation. Are you actually looking to grow, increase your business size, increase your capital, deploy more marketing strategies, hire more teams, open up new brick and mortar locations, expand? That's all growth, right? Because we can grow our revenue and actually decrease our profit. We can increase revenue verticals and actually have less net profit overall. I don't know if anybody else in the room, but that sure has happened to me. Yes, some few honest people in the room, right? It's like, let's grow, 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 grow. If you are chasing growth for the sake of growth and you are not maintaining profit through it, you will eventually regress in revenue, whether it's 12 months or 24 months or 36 months down the road. It's typically between 24 and 36. So more doesn't always mean more profit. More revenue. What's the saying? Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow will always be king. And if you get nothing else, just remember that. Never chase revenue for the sake of growth. Make sure that you're chasing profitable revenue so that you can actually scale your operation, scale your bottom line, and you can increase your profit and to put it into whatever you want. Not every business owner wants to exit. I know tons. They just want to have a great life and be able to have more assets, and that's okay. But you need to know what you're building. Scale is increasing that efficiency, that profitability, that productivity, so that you're not just doing more. It's you being able to handle the volume so that you can grow sustainably, so that you can scale slowly and maintain that without actually regressing. Growth is about getting bigger. Scale is getting more efficient. And here's the two differences. So again, where you were on that first chart, where are you now? Are you in growth mode? Typically, growth mode is happening from 0 to 3. It is really hard to scale unless you don't want to build a big business, less than that. Once we start to get over 3 million, okay, we've caught viability. We know where your customers live. We know how to acquire more of them. We know what your marketing acquisition cost is, your customer acquisition cost. So that's when we know, okay, let's start doubling down on our efforts in order to really scale. And so anyone in here that is in a growth mode, is anyone here in a growth mode that you would really be honest, that you'd like to grow your revenue? Raise your hand or say yes. If you want to grow your business, say yes. All right, so we're going to assume that everybody in here wants to grow. We're going to do the fastest thing I've ever done ever, and I'm going to give you a deep dive on this 4 ways to grow business revenue. This is in my first book. Acquire a new customer, increase buying frequency, increase their average cart, average spend, raise your prices. That's it. Literally every single growth strategy will fall into one of these buckets, all of them. Think of every single thing you want to do in your business, even if you are an MSP or you have a SaaS product or tech, pretty much everything falls in line there. And so when we're looking at that, we want to know, do we actually want to add more customers? And my challenge to you is this: if you do not know your customer acquisition cost, if you don't know what it costs you to go get a new client, this should never be your default. Because unless we know how much it costs to go get a new client, how profitable that client is, what lifetime value that is to your bottom line, you're just spending money and you're hoping, and that's never a strategy. It will always cost 5 times more to acquire a new customer, and depending what type of marketing strategies you're running, this could even be 6 and 7. So 5 to 7 times it will cost more. That is a lot of money that you got to go spend in order to get that one person that we don't even know what they're worth to the business. So how can we do it more efficiently? Average cart and average ticket, service or retail, regardless what business that you're in. Let's just survey. Who's here in the service-based businesses? Raise your hand. Awesome, service-based. And anybody in e-com, retail, tech of any kind? Products? Okay, good. So most of you are services. Of the services, any service professionals, like service professionals, of those, a few. Any home service-based businesses? Yes, like contractors and HVAC and electrical? Oh yeah, love it. Okay, great, awesome. So these are great ways for you to start understanding what it costs you to acquire a new customer and what kind of ancillary revenue streams can you develop so that those same customers can buy from you. I'll give you a real life example. That somebody has a massive billing company, medical billing company. She's been working with me for 3 years. And she's started in maybe at like 3 million, and we have exponentially grown that company year after year. And she's like, I'm kind of tapped out. Like, I don't even know where else to go. And I'm like, well, what else do your customers need? Like, what other services are your customers going to buy? She's like, well, they all need HR, and they all need bookkeeping. I'm like, all right, can we acquire an HR company? Can we acquire a bookkeeping firm, right? Because it's always easier to acquire revenue than it is to build it from zero. I was like, can we go acquire that in some way? And within 6 months, she's acquiring an HR firm. She's building that. She is white labeling bookkeeping services. So if you're ever stuck and you can't find your way through, I want to challenge you that you just need to ask a better question. If this was true, if everything was on the line, if you weren't going to pay your bills tomorrow, if you were facing foreclosure and you had to make a decision, what would you do? So often business owners have this instinct inside of them. They don't really know what it is. But what happens is they try to get their intellect to override that instinct, especially thinking that they need some expert or some opinion or some pro to tell them what to do. But oftentimes, you guys know exactly what to do. You just need to get quiet long enough and ask yourself the right questions and then have courage to believe more in yourself than the opinions of other people and execute. That is what's going to make the difference and take you from where you are to where you want to go. Obviously, all of these things are critically important to know. But as far as the next step to your next level, typically you know already what that is. You're just having a little fear of going out and executing it. But I want to challenge that thought or that fear or that belief that you may have, because everybody in this room that started a business at one point had to go all in on something that they dreamed. Maybe back then it was a God-sized dream, something that you thought you were never capable of ever achieving, and yet you did. And now, because you have some success and some people know you and you have clients, it's a little sketch to make this next decision, because what if you fail? And this becomes the law of the lid, because you're worried about what other people perceive you as opposed to adopting that belief that you had all those years ago in yourself and going all in. And so I want to challenge everybody in here that if there's something that when I said that, you're like, oh shit, she's talking to me, that's me. Anybody? I want you to take this one thing tonight in the quiet of your room or your home, wherever you're going back to. I want you to pull out a sheet of paper, blank sheet of paper, sit in the silence. And I want you to think about every single thing that you overcame to get to this level. Every challenge you faced, every person that told you you weren't going to do this, or who do you think you are? Oh, I think that's a little bit too big for you, honey. Anybody that said that in your life, whether it was 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 16 years ago, I want you to write all of that down. I want you to look at that. Whether you grew up in poverty like me, or overcame abuse, or had to leave some difficult relationship, or had everything taken away from you, or whether you were in bankruptcy at one point in your life and you finally went all in on this. Write it down. And then when you start to doubt this next thing that you want to do, when you start to worry if you're going to go from 10 to 15 million in revenue, I want you to pull out that list and remember who you are. Remember what you've overcome. Remember the challenges that you face, the adversity that you've been through. so that you know that this next thing you're going to get through that too. Oftentimes we start playing small because we forget who we were. We want to make sure that we bring that little girl, that little boy along with us to this next level and say, I did all that and I'm going to do this too. Is anybody with me? Business is really easy when we understand the data and the numbers. Money solves problems. Sales solves problems. Profit solves problems. It gives you the ability to go do whatever it is that you want, to test, to taste, to try, and to be able to walk away from something that you don't like. It's another thing entrepreneurs do so often is they hang on to something that's no longer serving them, whether it's a client or a team member or a revenue vertical or a product or something that you know. Why? Because we pick up these little golf balls all along our business. We pick up ordering products, we pick up working with the team, we pick up working with clients, and we have all these things that we've been used to handling. And at some point, whatever you believe in, God or the universe is trying to give you this big, beautiful basketball of this next level of life and business for you, but your hands are so dang full. There's no way you can reach or grasp or have space to get what's next. That's what I see entrepreneurs do so often, especially at the highest levels of life. How do you empty your hands? What do you eliminate? Ask yourself this. Once you do that proof paper, I want you to sit there and think, what am I holding on to? What do I need to let go of so I can create space to do this next big thing? Is it an opinion of yourself, what somebody else has? Is it something that you're just scared to death to do? When you feel that fear, use that as your compass, that this is what I need to do next. Because entrepreneurs like you, when your back is up against the wall, that's when you shine. When you have a big vision, a dream that's so big that you have no idea how you're going to do it, that life, that vibrancy is what I see so many people missing that you once had. And if that's you, I want to challenge you to do that proof paper and ask yourself, what are you holding on to that you need to let go of so this bigger version of you can start to show up? And then make promises to other people that make you show up. When I was 19 years old and had no money, I had a 6-week run rate on an SBA loan. 45 days, 7 employees. Day one that we opened our doors. I had to figure it out. If it was just me, honestly, I probably would have called it quits several times in those first few years. But the fact that I had 7 people, all of which were older than me because I was 19 the first day I opened, I said to them, I'm going to give you jobs. You can trust me. We're going to do this. We're going to make this the best place ever. I made commitments to people that forced me to show up in a way that I didn't even think was possible. So once you have that vision, that dream, that you realize that you are playing small in this business and this next level is nothing compared to what you've already done, start to make promises to other people that force the highest version of yourself to show up and watch magic happen. That's when business gets fun. That's when average cart, average ticket, increasing your purchase frequency or knowing when to raise your prices becomes automatic and instinctual because you've already laid the track and the intention of what it is that you want to build. So I always talk about this one thing, and you guys have had an incredible day with endless speakers. I think I'm literally maybe one of your last speakers. I think Jonathan's coming up next. So you guys have done phenomenal being in the room and present. But the one thing will happen if you leave, and if you don't get clear on what this day was spent doing, and understand what was the one reason you were in this room for, you'll leave and you won't execute anything. You'll get right back into your business, into your life, and then life will start to happen to you instead of you directing it. So what is the one thing that will give you the most return? And this could be on this session, this could be on the whole day, whatever you feel. Do you need to acquire more customers? Do you need to raise your prices? Do you need to just increase the average order purchase frequency and average order cart of your customers that you already have? Like, what is going to give you the most return? And this can be in your revenue or in your profit, but it could also be just in your business, in your life. Because as an entrepreneur, we have the joy and sometimes the challenge that we get to design whatever life we want. We need to make sure that our business aligns with the life that you want to create so that you don't one day regret it and hate going to your job that you bought. That's what I hope everybody doesn't do in this time together. So what is the one thing that can give you the most return? And if you're looking to increase your profit and you're like, you know what, my revenue's been really great, some people raise their hands, but I'm not profitable, here's what you want to do. You want to stop, pause, and take a look at your data. Like I said, metrics are the data that we need to understand, and I'm going to give them to you really simple. Your most profitable customers, your most profitable segments, your most profitable services or products, if you just wanted to go acquire those customers to sell more of the most profitable products and services that you offer, how would you go do that? Where are they? Are they really on a Facebook ad? Are they in a networking group? Are they in direct mail? 95% of all direct mail gets opened. You're lucky if you get a 20% email open rate in today, right? Everybody is doing one thing. Look at what's the opposite. If everybody's running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, talking on TikTok, where's the opposite? What can you leverage to find more of your customers more effectively so that you can acquire profit more easily? That's when it really starts that's when business starts to really make sense and get easy. And I think that every single person that comes to something like this, like, you came here for a reason. You want to grow your business. And it's not just a business. It's your family. It's your probably marriage. It's your kids. It's the legacy that you want to live. And I sometimes see entrepreneurs just thinking about that next little level and miss that there's a whole other staircase that you could be walking up. So everyone in here, I believe, was born to do incredible things, not just with their life, but with their business. And you can do that a lot more easier when you have revenue and profit to fuel your dreams. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Go achieve something great.